The wind howled across the frozen planet, cold and endless, like it had been alive for thousands of years. Captain Armin stood near the edge of the ice ridge, his heavy boots sinking slightly into the snow, his breath slow inside the helmet, his eyes scanning the white emptiness in front of him. This planet was not supposed to have life. No signals, no movement, nothing. That was what the report said. But something felt wrong. Behind him, the small human exploration team moved carefully, checking their devices, speaking in low voices, trying not to disturb the silence that covered everything. "Captain, we are picking up something strange," one of them said, his voice shaking a little. Armin turned slowly. "What kind of signal?" The man looked at his screen, confused. "It is weak. Very weak, but it is not natural. It feels like a voice." Armin frowned. "A voice? That is not possible. No life forms were ever recorded here," another team member added. Trying to stay calm, the wind suddenly grew louder, pushing against them, as if the planet itself was warning them to leave. Armin stepped forward. "Show me the location." The man pointed toward a wide field of thick ice, cracked in strange patterns, like something had once tried to escape from beneath it. The signal was coming from there. They moved slowly, each step careful, their eyes watching the ground. The closer they got, the stronger the signal became. Then, a sound very soft, almost lost in the wind. "Hello." Everyone froze. No one spoke. Armin's heart began to beat faster. "Did you hear that?" "Yes." "That was not the wind," someone whispered. The sound came again, weak, broken, like someone had not spoken in a very long time. "Is someone there?" One of the team members stepped back, fear clear in his voice. "Captain, we should leave. This is not normal." Armin did not move. His eyes locked on the ice. "Scan the ground," he ordered. The device beeped rapidly, the readings going wild. "There is something under the ice," the man said, now clearly afraid. "How deep?" Armin asked. "Not deep. Just a few meters." The ice below them suddenly made a low cracking sound. Everyone stepped back quickly. The ground trembled slightly, small lines spreading across the surface. "Careful!" Armin shouted. The cracks grew larger, spreading like veins, and then a faint glow appeared beneath the ice, soft and blue. The team stared in silence, their fear now mixed with something else, something they could not understand. "It is alive," someone whispered. Armin slowly moved closer. Ignoring the danger, the glow became stronger. And then the voice came again, clearer this time. "Human." Armin stopped, his breath catching. How did it know that word? How did anything here know about humans? "Break the ice," he said quietly. "Captain." "That is too risky," one of them protested. "We don't know what it is." Armin looked at them, his voice firm. "We are not leaving for a moment." No one argued. Then they began to work, carefully cutting through the thick frozen surface. Piece by piece, the ice began to open. The glow grew brighter, almost warm against the cold air. Finally, the last layer cracked open, and everything went silent inside the ice. There was a small figure, a child. She looked no older than 6 or 7. Her body fragile, her skin glowing softly blue. Her white hair frozen around her face, her eyes were closed. Her small hands held close to her chest, like she had been waiting for a long time. No one moved, no one spoke. Armin slowly knelt down, his heart pounding. This is not possible," someone whispered behind him. Then suddenly, the child's eyes opened, bright, glowing, and alive. She looked directly at Armin, like she had been searching for him. Her lips moved slowly, her voice weak but clear. "You came." Armin felt a chill run through his entire body. He had never seen this child before. He had never been to this planet. And yet, she was looking at him like she had been waiting for him for 100 years. The wind outside stopped for a moment. The entire world felt still. And then she whispered again. Where is the human? No one had an answer, because none of them understood how a frozen alien child, trapped for 100 years, was calling for a human like she already knew one would come. The room was warm, but the air felt heavy, like something unseen was watching every movement. The small alien child lay on a soft medical bed, her glowing blue skin faint under the white lights, her body still. Too still for someone who had just awakened after 100 years. Machines surrounded her, making quiet sounds, scanning, reading, trying to understand what she was. But nothing made sense. Dr. Holly stood near the screen, his eyes moving quickly over the data, his face tight with confusion. "This is impossible," he said softly. Captain Armin stood a few steps away, his arms crossed, his eyes fixed on the child. "Say that again," Armin replied. His voice calm but heavy. Holly shook his head. "Her body is not damaged, not frozen in a normal way. It is like time stopped for her." Another scientist stepped closer. "Her cells are stable, no decay, no aging. She's exactly the same as she was 100 years ago." Armin looked at the child again. 100 years, and she still looked like a little girl. "It did not feel right," she spoke, Armin said slowly. "Yes," Holly replied, "and that is not the strangest part." He turned the screen toward Armin. "These signals from her brain, they react strongly to one thing." Armin narrowed his eyes. "What thing?" Holly hesitated, then said, "Human presence." The room went silent. "That makes no sense." One of the team members said, "She should not even know what a human is." But before anyone could say more, the child moved, very slightly. Her fingers twitched, weak and slow. Everyone turned at once. "Wait," Holly said quickly. "Do not get too close." But Armin was already stepping forward. Something pulled him closer. Something he could not explain. The closer he got, the brighter her skin began to glow. The machines reacted immediately, beeping faster. "Her heart rate is increasing," Holly said, shocked. "She is responding." Armin stopped beside the bed, looking down at her small face for a moment. Nothing happened. Then slowly, her eyes opened, bright, glowing, and filled with something deep. Something old. She looked around the room. Confused, scared, her breathing became uneven. "No sudden movement," Holly whispered. But then her eyes stopped, locked on Armin. Everything else disappeared for her. The fear in her face softened, replaced by something else. Something almost peaceful. Her lips moved. "You." Her voice was weak, barely a sound. Armin felt his chest tighten. He did not understand why, but hearing her voice again felt personal. "I am here," he said quietly. Without thinking, the team looked at him in surprise. The child slowly lifted her small hand, shaking, reaching toward him. Armin hesitated for a second, then he reached out. The moment their hands touched, the machines went wild. Energy readings spiked, lights flickered, alarms started. "What is happening?" someone shouted. Holly stared at the screen. "Her energy levels are rising fast. This is not normal." But Armin could not move. The child's small hand held his tightly. Her grip was weak, but she did not let go. Tears slowly formed in her glowing eyes. "You came back." The words hit Armin like a shock. I was never here before," he said, confused, but she shook her head slightly. "No." "You promised." The room fell into silence again. Everyone stared at Armin. What is she talking about? One of them whispered. Armin did not answer because he did not know. He had never seen this child, never been to this planet, and yet something inside him felt wrong, like a memory he could not reach. The child suddenly winced in pain, her body tensing. The glow around her flickered, becoming unstable. Holly stepped forward quickly. "Her condition is dropping. Do something," Armin said, his voice sharper now. "We are trying," Holly replied, adjusting the controls. But we do not understand her biology. The child's breathing became weaker. Her grip on Armin's hand tightened for a moment, then slowly weakened. Her eyes started to close. "No," Armin said, leaning closer. "Stay with me." Her lips moved one last time, barely a whisper. "Don't leave." Again, and then. Her hand fell still. The machines gave a long, low sound. The glow around her body faded almost completely. "No. No, no," Holly said quickly, checking the readings. "She is not gone. But she is shutting down." Armin stood frozen, staring at her. His heart was racing. His mind full of questions. One thing was clear. This was not just a random discovery. This child was waiting for someone, for a human, and somehow she believed that human was him, behind them. One of the systems suddenly beeped. A hidden file had just unlocked from the data they collected from the ice. Hale turned toward the screen, his face going pale. "There is a message," he said slowly. Armin looked at him. "From who?" Hale swallowed. "It is from a human." The room went completely silent, because that message was exactly 100 years old. The message did not play immediately. The screen flickered. Old data trying to wake up after 100 years of silence. Everyone in the room stood still, watching, waiting. Captain Armin felt his heartbeat slow, then grow heavy. Like something important was about to change everything. Dr. Hale moved closer to the system, his hands careful, almost nervous. "This file is damaged," he said quietly, "but something inside it is still active." "Play it," Armin replied. His voice firm. For a moment, nothing happened. Then suddenly, the screen lit up. A figure appeared. Unclear at first. Broken lines, static noise. Then slowly, it became visible. A human, wearing an old exploration suit. Very different from modern designs, scratched, burned in places. The face was tired, covered in dust, eyes heavy but focused. The man looked directly into the camera. Like he knew someone would watch this one day. "If anyone finds this." The recording began. His voice weak but steady. The room went silent. "This planet is not dead," the man continued. "We were wrong." Behind him, faint sounds of chaos could be heard, distant explosions, alarms. Something terrible happening far away. There was a war. "Not ours," he said, breathing harder now. "They destroyed everything. Cities, people, children." Armin felt a cold weight settle in his chest. The alien child on the bed. She was part of that world. The man in the recording looked down for a moment, then back at the camera. "I found one survivor," he said. The entire room tensed. "A child," he continued. "Not like us, but not dangerous." The screen flickered again, showing a brief image beside him, a small glowing figure. Her, the same child, frozen in time now, lying just a few steps away from them. "She was alone," the man said, his voice softer now, scared. "But she trusted me." Armin's eyes did not move from the screen. Something inside him felt strange again, that same feeling he could not explain. "I told her I would protect her," the man said. "I told her I would come back." The room felt colder suddenly. Hale slowly whispered, "This cannot be real." The man in the recording coughed, blood visible near his lips now. "I could not save her world," he said, pain clear in his voice. "But I will not let her die here." He turned the camera slightly, showing a deep chamber of ice, glowing softly. "I am placing her in stasis," he explained. "This will stop time for her. Keep her alive." Armin stepped closer to the screen without realizing. The man looked straight ahead again, his eyes serious now. "If you are watching this, if any human finds her." His voice slowed, each word heavy. "Please, keep my promise." Silence filled the room. Then the man said one last thing. "Her name is Lyra." The recording shook violently. A loud sound echoed in the background. Something collapsing. The man looked to the side, then back one final time. "They are here." The screen went black. The message ended. No one spoke for a long time. The only sound in the room was the quiet hum of machines and the slow breathing of the team. Armin stood still, his mind racing. Lyra, that was her name. The child who had 100 years. For a human to come back, she was not calling for any human, Holly said softly. She was calling for him, Armin nodded slowly. But he is gone, someone else added. Dead for 100 years. Then why did she say? You came back? Holly asked, turning toward Armin. All eyes moved to him again. Armin felt the pressure, the questions, the confusion. I do not know, he said honestly. But even as he said it, that strange feeling inside him grew stronger. Like something was connecting him to this story. Something deeper than logic. Behind them, a soft sound broke the silence. Everyone turned at once. Lyra, her body moved slightly. The glow around her flickered again, weak but returning. Her system is reacting, Halle said quickly, moving to the controls. She is not fully stable. Armin stepped closer again. Unable to stop himself, Lyra's eyes slowly opened. This time they looked more tired, more fragile, but still. Focused, still searching, they found Armin again, always him. Her lips moved slowly, her voice almost gone. The room froze. Armin's breath stopped. She was trying to say something. A name. Man. His name, she said his name. Clear enough that no one could deny it. Holly stepped back in shock. That is not possible. Armin felt his heart pound harder than ever before. He had never met her. He had never been here. So how did she know his name? Lyra's hand moved weakly again. Reaching toward him, her eyes filled with tears. You came back. Just like you said. Armin stood there, frozen, because now, this was no longer just a mystery. This was something personal, something impossible, something that should not exist, because a child from a destroyed alien world was looking at him. Like he was the same human who made a promise 100 years ago. Armin did not move for a long moment, his eyes locked on Lyra, his mind refusing to accept what he had just heard. She had said his name, not something similar. Not a mistake, his exact name. The room felt smaller now, heavier. Like the air itself was watching him, waiting for him to understand something he could not see yet. Dr. Halle broke the silence. His voice low but urgent. We need to check this. Now he rushed to the main system, pulling up old records, scanning everything connected to the recovered message. There has to be an explanation, Halle said, more to himself than anyone else. No child can know the name of someone she has never met. Armin finally stepped closer to the bed again. His voice quiet. Lyra. Her glowing eyes softened the moment she heard her name. She looked at him like she had been waiting for that voice. That exact voice, for a very long time. You said my name, Armin continued, trying to stay calm. How do you know me? Lyra blinked slowly, her breathing still weak, her body fragile under the soft lights. For a second, it looked like she did not understand the question. Then she whispered, You stayed with me. Armin's chest tightened. I was never here, he said, almost to himself. But Lyra shook her head slightly. No. You told me stories. The room went silent again. Stories. Armin had never told her anything, and yet the way she spoke. It felt real, like a memory, not imagination. Behind them, Holly suddenly spoke louder. Captain. You need to see this. Armin turned, slowly walking toward the screen. Holly pointed at a set of old data files, recently unlocked from the recovered system. These are deeper records from the same mission, Holly explained. They were hidden, protected. Almost like someone did not want them to be found easily. What do they show? Armin asked. Holly hesitated for a second, then opened the file. The screen flickered again. Another video began to play, this time. The image was clearer. The same human from before, sitting on the ground, his suit damaged, his face tired. But he was not alone. Beside him, Lyra, smaller, weaker, but alive. She was sitting close to him, her glowing skin dim, her small hands holding onto his arm. The man looked down at her, then back at the camera. "She does not sleep much," he said quietly. "She is scared when I close my eyes." Lyra in the recording looked up at him, her small voice soft. "Don't go." The man gave a weak smile, placing his hand gently on her head. "I am not going anywhere," he said. Armin felt something shift inside him, the way the man spoke. The tone, the calmness, it felt familiar, too familiar. The recording continued. "She does not understand what happened to her world," the man said. "And maybe that is a good thing." He looked at Lyra again. "Softer now, so I tell her stories." The room became very quiet. Armin's eyes slowly widened. Stories, the same word Lyra had just used. "I tell her about Earth," the man continued. "About oceans, cities, people. About humans." Lyra in the recording smiled faintly, her glowing eyes focused only on him. "Humans are kind," she said softly. The man nodded. "Yes," he replied. "We try to be." Armin felt his heartbeat grow louder. Every word in the recording felt like it was pulling him closer to something he did not understand. Then suddenly, the man in the video turned slightly, and the light shifted across his face for a brief second. The room froze because the face on the screen looked like Armin. Not exactly the same, older, more tired, more worn by time and war. But the resemblance was clear, impossible to ignore. "No." One of the team members whispered. "That is not possible." Halle stepped back slowly, his eyes wide. "Captain." Armin did not respond. He could not, because he was staring at his own face. From 100 years ago, the recording continued. But no one moved, no one breathed. The man in the video looked back at the camera one last time. "If she wakes up one day." "And I am gone," he said, his voice softer now. "Tell her." "I kept my promise as long as I could." Lyra held onto him tighter in the recording, her small voice shaking. "You come back." The man closed his eyes for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Yes," he said. "I will always come back." The screen went dark. Silence filled the room again, heavy, deep, impossible to ignore. Armin stepped back slightly, his mind spinning. This was not just a connection. This was not just coincidence. This was something far beyond logic, because somehow, a human who lived 100 years ago had his face, his voice, his presence, and now a child from that time was looking at him like he was the same person. Behind him, Lyra's weak voice came again, soft, fragile, but full of trust. "You came back, Armin?" He slowly turned toward her, and this time, he could not say she was wrong. The alarm started again, louder this time, sharp and urgent. Cutting through the heavy silence in the room, Lyra's body trembled on the bed, her soft blue glow flickering like a dying light. Dr. Halle rushed to the control panel, his hands moving fast, his voice tense. "She's crashing again." Armin stepped forward immediately. His eyes locked on her. "What is happening to her?" Halle did not look at him. "Her body is unstable. It is like the stasis is breaking, but her system cannot handle real time." Lyra's breathing became uneven, short and weak, like every breath was a struggle. Her small fingers curled slightly, reaching without strength. "Armin," she whispered, the way she said his name. It was not fear, it was trust, and that made everything worse. Armin moved closer, gently taking her hand again. "I am here," he said, his voice low but steady. The moment their hands touched, the machines reacted again. Lights flashing, readings rising, Halle turned quickly, shocked. "It is happening again. What is?" Armin asked. "She's responding to you." "Directly," Halle said, his voice filled with disbelief. "That is not normal interaction. This is deeper, biological. Maybe even genetic." Armin frowned. "Explain clearly." Halle pulled up the data, pointing at the screen. Her cells are adapting when you are near. They stabilize for a moment, like your presence is correcting something inside her, another scientist added quietly. It is like her body recognizes him. The words hung in the air. Recognizes him, not just remembers. Recognizes. Lyra's glow grew a little stronger. Her breathing slightly more stable. But only for a moment, then it dropped again. Halle cursed under his breath. This is not enough. Whatever connection is happening, it is incomplete. What do you mean incomplete? Armin asked. Halle looked at him seriously now. I think her body needs something from you, not just your presence. The room became still. What kind of something? Armin said slowly. Halle hesitated, then answered. Your DNA. The word hit like a shock. That is insane, one of the team members said immediately. We do not even know how her biology works. And if we do nothing, she dies, Halle replied sharply. Silence followed. Lyra let out a weak sound. Her body tensing again, the glow flickered rapidly. Armin looked down at her, his jaw tightening. How would it work? He asked. Halle quickly explained. We can try a direct bio-link transfer. A controlled process. We take a small part of your genetic structure and introduce it into her system. And the risk? Armin asked. Halle did not answer immediately. That was enough of an answer. Say it, Armin said firmly. Halle sighed. We do not know how your body will react or hers. It could stabilize her. Or it could damage both of you. Another voice spoke from behind. Or kill him. The words stayed in the air. Cold and clear, Lyra's hand tightened weakly around Armin's fingers. Don't go. She whispered again. Armin closed his eyes for a brief second. 100 years ago. A human made a promise. Now that promise was in front of him again. Broken. Unless he chose to fix it, he opened his eyes and looked at Halle. Prepare the process. Captain, you need to think. I already did, Armin cut him off. His voice calm but final. Halle stared at him for a moment. Then nodded slowly. All right. We do this now. The room shifted into motion. Machines activated. New systems connected. Lights dimmed slightly as power redirected. Armin sat beside the bed. Not letting go of Lyra's hand, she looked at him. Her glowing eyes weak but focused. You stay. He gave a small nod. I am not going anywhere. Halle positioned the equipment. His voice steady but tense. This will hurt. Armin did not respond. I am starting the transfer, Halle said. The machine came alive with a low hum. A sharp pulse of energy moved through the system. Connecting Armin and Lyra for a second, nothing happened. Then suddenly, Armin gasped, his body stiffening. A strange pain shot through him. Not like injury, but something deeper, like his body was being pulled apart from the inside. His grip on Lyra's hand tightened. The machine screamed with data. Energy levels rising beyond normal limits. It is working. But unstable, Halle shouted, trying to control the system. Lyra's body reacted instantly. Her glow flared brighter than ever before, filling the room with soft blue light. Her breathing steadied, her body relaxing. For the first time since she woke up, she looked peaceful, but Armin, he was not, his vision blurred, his strength fading. It felt like something was leaving him. Piece by piece. Captain, stay with us, someone shouted. But Armin's focus remained on Lyra. Only her, because she was finally safe, and that was all that mattered. The light around them grew stronger, almost blinding. Then suddenly, everything stopped. The machines went quiet. The energy dropped. Lyra's glow stabilized, soft and steady. She slowly opened her eyes, stronger now, clearer, alive. Armin, she said softly. But Armin did not answer. His hand slipped from hers, his body falling still beside the bed. Halle rushed forward, panic in his voice. No. No, no. This was not supposed to happen. The monitors told the truth they did not want to hear. Armin's life signs were fading fast, and now, to save the child who waited 100 years, The human who came back might not survive this time. The room felt too quiet, not peaceful. But wrong, like something had been taken from it. Something important. Lyra sat up slowly on the medical bed. Her glowing blue light now soft and steady. Stronger than before, her breathing was calm. Her body no longer shaking. She was alive. Fully alive, but her eyes, they were searching. "Armen?" She called softly. No answer came. Her gaze moved across the room. Confused at first, then slowly filled with fear. Because she saw him lying on the floor beside the bed. Unmoving, his hand still half raised, like he had been reaching for her. "No," she whispered. Dr. Holly was already kneeling beside him, checking the readings again and again, hoping something would change. But the monitors stayed low, weak, fading. "His system is shutting down," Holly said, his voice heavy. "We are losing him." One of the team members stepped back. Shaking his head, he gave too much. Lyra slid off the bed, her small feet touching the cold floor. She moved slowly at first, her body still adjusting. But her eyes never left Armen. "You said you stay," she whispered, her voice breaking. No one stopped her. No one knew what to do. She reached him and knelt down beside his body, her small glowing hands hovering over him, unsure, afraid, for a moment. She did nothing, just looked at him, like she could not understand how someone who felt so warm could suddenly feel so empty. Tears formed in her glowing eyes, falling softly onto his hand. "You came back," she said quietly. "You kept your promise." Her voice trembled. "Now I keep mine." The room went still again. Hallie looked up, confused. What is she doing? But before anyone could react, Lyra closed her eyes. Her glow began to change, not flickering like before, but growing, slowly, steadily, becoming brighter and deeper. Like something inside her was waking up. Energy filled the air, soft at first, then stronger. The machines began to react again, screens lighting up with readings no one had seen before. "This is not possible," Holly whispered. Staring at the data, her energy levels are increasing beyond known limits. Lyra placed her small hand gently on Armen's chest, right above his heart. Her glow flowed from her hand into him, like light moving through water, soft but powerful. "You are not alone," she whispered. "Not anymore." Armen's body remained still for a second, then suddenly, a small movement, so slight that it almost felt imagined. Holly leaned closer, his eyes wide. "Wait." The monitor gave a weak signal, a pulse very faint, but real, his heart. Holly said, almost not believing it, "It is responding." The team moved closer, their faces filled with shock. Lyra did not stop. Her glow continued to flow into him, her small body trembling now under the pressure. This was not easy, this was not safe, but she did not pull away. Because she understood something they did not. He had given part of himself to save her. Now she was giving it back. Armen's chest rose slightly, a breath, weak but real. The monitors grew stronger, signals stabilizing. Slowly, step by step. "He is coming back," someone whispered. Holly shook his head in disbelief. This should not be possible. Human biology cannot recover like this, but it was happening. Right in front of them, Lyra's glow finally began to fade. Not gone, but calmer, like she had used what she needed. Her body swayed slightly, losing strength, but before she could fall, Armen's hand moved, catching hers, weak but alive. Lyra's eyes opened wide. "Armen?" His fingers tightened slightly around her hand, slowly, painfully. His eyes opened, blurred at first, unfocused, then slowly finding her. The first thing he saw was her, safe, alive, glowing. A small, tired smile touched his face. "I told you," he whispered, his voice barely there. "I am not going anywhere." Lyra let out a small broken sound, something between a laugh and a cry. She held his hand tightly, like she would never let go again. You came back, she said softly. Armin looked at her, his vision still heavy, his body weak. Looks like you did too. The room slowly filled with sound again. People moving, machines stabilizing. But for a moment, none of that mattered, because something impossible had just happened. Not science, not logic, something more, something human, a promise made 100 years ago. Kept by two souls who refused to let each other go. Halle stepped back, still trying to understand this connection. It is beyond biology, he said quietly. No, it is something else. Armin slowly pushed himself up, still holding Lyra's hand. He looked at her carefully. You saved me, he said. Lyra shook her head slightly. We saved each other. Silence settled again, softer this time, warmer, but it did not last long. The warning lights did not stop flashing. The sound filled the entire station, sharp and urgent, leaving no space for silence anymore. Everyone in the room turned toward the main screen, fear slowly replacing the relief they had just felt. Dr. Halle moved quickly, pulling up the external sensors. His hands shaking slightly. It is getting closer, he said. His voice low. Armin stood beside Lyra, still weak but steady enough to stand, his hand holding hers, not out of fear, but certainty. What is it? He asked. Halle zoomed in on the signal, the screen struggling to process the incoming data. It is not a ship like ours, he said. Its structure. It is different, unknown, but powerful. One of the team members whispered. Could it be from her world? Lyra's grip on Armin's hand tightened slightly. Her glowing eyes were fixed on the screen, not confused, not surprised, but afraid. They came, she whispered. Armin looked down at her. Who came? Her voice was small but clear. The ones who broke everything? The room went silent again. The war, the destruction, the ones who erased her entire world. They were here, and they had found her. Halle turned, panic growing in his voice. If they tracked her energy, then they know she is alive, and they are not coming to help, another added. Armin looked at the screen, then back at Lyra. His expression changed, not fear. Decision. We are not giving her to them, he said firmly. The team exchanged looks, unsure, afraid. That thing out there could destroy this entire station, someone said. And if we do nothing, they will take her. Or worse, Armin replied. Silence followed, because deep down, they all knew he was right. Lyra stepped a little closer to him, her voice soft. They will hurt you. Armin looked at her calm. Not if we stop them. Halle shook his head. We are scientists, not soldiers. Armin gave a faint, tired smile. Today, we are whatever we need to be. The station trembled slightly. A deep sound echoed from outside, like something massive moving through space. The unknown ship was now visible on the outer cameras, dark, enormous, silent. Watching them, a message signal suddenly appeared on the screen. Not human language, not anything they recognized, but Lyra understood. Her eyes widened, her glow flickering slightly. They want me, she said. Armin's grip tightened. They are not getting you. Lyra looked at him. Something changing in her expression, not fear anymore. Something stronger. I can stop them, she said quietly. Halle turned quickly. What do you mean? Lyra looked at the screen, then back at Armin. My kind. We are not just like this, she said, placing her hand over her chest. The energy, the light, it is part of us. Armin frowned slightly. You are still weak. She shook her head. Not anymore. Her glow began to grow again, slowly, gently filling the room, not unstable like before. Controlled, focused. I was sleeping for a long time, she continued. But now, I remember. The lights around her shimmered softly, like stars coming alive. Halle stared in awe. This energy, it is beyond anything we have ever seen. Lyra stepped forward, letting go of Armin's hand for the first time, but only for a moment. She turned back to him. You came back for me." Her voice was soft, full of warmth. "Now I protect you." Armin looked at her, something deep in his eyes, pride. "And something more. Whatever happens," he said quietly, "you are not alone anymore." Lyra gave a small nod. She turned toward the main window. Facing the massive dark ship outside, her glow expanded. Surrounding her like a shield of light, the station lights dimmed in response, as if all power was being drawn toward her. Outside, the dark ship moved closer. A low, threatening hum filled the space around them. Then, Lyra raised her hand, and the light answered. A wave of soft blue energy moved outward from her, passing through the station. Into the cold space beyond. It did not look like a weapon, but it was powerful, pure, alive. The dark ship reacted immediately, its surface shifting, trying to resist, but the light touched it. And everything changed. The massive structure began to slow, then stop, its energy flickering, systems failing. Like something inside it was being shut down. Halle stared at the screen, unable to believe what he was seeing. She is not destroying it. She is disabling it. The ship went completely silent, drifting lifeless in space. The threat gone, just like that, inside the station. The light slowly faded, Lyra's glow returning to its soft, gentle state. She swayed slightly, her strength finally lowering. Armin moved quickly, catching her before she could fall. "I got you," he said softly. She looked up at him, her glowing eyes calm now, peaceful. "We are safe." Armin nodded. "Yes, we are." The alarms stopped, the red lights disappeared, silence returned. But this time, it was different. Not empty, not cold, warm. Alive. Halle slowly stepped closer, still in shock. "That was not just power," he said quietly. "That was control, intelligence. Something far beyond us." Armin looked down at Lyra, then back at the quiet stars outside. "Maybe," he said, "but she is not alone anymore." Lyra rested her head lightly against him, her voice barely a whisper. "Family." Armin smiled faintly. After 100 years of waiting, a promise had been kept, a child had been saved, and humanity had once again chosen to stand, not because it was easy, but because it was right, and far beyond the cold silence of space. A new story had begun, one where an alien child and a human were no longer alone.